From Commando.com, it's your tech news today for Monday, July 23rd, and coming up in just a bit, people are buying low-cost imitation iPhone Xs, and it's a security nightmare. Plus, a massive data breach has exposed tons of sensitive documents from automakers online, and some top websites are lacking when it comes to password strength requirements. All that and more in tech news today from the news desk at Commando.com. We start with a story of caution to be careful where you buy your phone. I'm sure you remember that Apple's top-of-the-line gadget released last fall was the iPhone X. It comes with some pretty amazing features, including a bezel-less OLED screen and facial recognition technology. It also comes with a pretty hefty price tag. The largest storage capacity model will run you over $1,100. For many, that's just too much money to shell out for an iPhone. Well, it doesn't lessen their desire, though, to own an iPhone. Having an expensive gadget to carry around has become a bit of a status symbol in society over the years, which is why some people are turning to counterfeit gadgets to make others think that they're sporting pricey devices without having to pay the extreme costs. Unfortunately, this is turning into a nightmare scenario for some. A recent investigation by Motherboard turned up some pretty scary results. There are fake iPhone X gadgets being sold for around $100 in certain marketplaces. The problem is that many of these counterfeit devices are loaded with malware and are recording usernames and passwords for Apple's iCloud. Plus, the apps found on the fake gadgets have almost no security features in place. In fact, many of the apps ask for invasive permissions, which could lead to even more problems. Your safest move is to stay away from counterfeit gadgets like this. And if you really want a less expensive version of the iPhone X, wait a few months, and Apple is rumored to be working on a new model similar to the X that will cost less, and it's supposed to be available later this year. We have more tech news just ahead. Right now, a quick thank you to our partners at Udemy.
If you know anything at all about me, you know I'd love a great podcast, like the one you're listening to right now. And not only do I get to host a couple of podcasts every week, I'm also a big podcast listener. Podcasts allow me to go deeper into subjects, which is why podcasts are incredible tools for not only entertainment, but also learning. So let me turn you on to Udemy. What's your passion? At Udemy, you can learn anything. And when I say anything, I'm telling you that Udemy offers more than 65,000 courses on, well, anything. And it's the largest space for online learning. It has something truly for everyone. You want to become a better investor, photographer, gardener, writer, or maybe teacher? How about web developer or something really different? Maybe tarot cards. You'll find it at Udemy. But what if you're an expert on something? Maybe you're an expert photographer or teacher. Then sign up as a Udemy instructor. You can earn money and sell your class right from their website.
Get started from anywhere, your smartphone, tablet, or computer. That's ude.my/today. Right now, get 90% off when you sign up for classes. That's ude.my/today. All right, more top tech news right now. There's been another massive data breach, and this one's a little bit odd. Most of the data breaches making headlines impact tons of people across the country by exposing personal, sensitive information. The latest one is a little bit different. Security researcher Chris Vickery found a large file exposed online that affects a handful of automakers. Nearly 100 companies in total were impacted, including Ford, Tesla, Toyota, and Volkswagen. Some of the car industry's best-kept secrets were available on the web for anyone to see, and that's because a Canadian firm called Level 1 Robotics and Controls had a 157-gigabyte file containing detailed blueprints and factory schematics online without password protection. No hacking was required. The company had automakers' information because it specializes in designing automation processes for car manufacturers and industry suppliers. Invoices, contracts, work plans, employee non-disclosure agreements were also part of the breach. The good news is if you're a customer of any of the affected automakers, your information should be safe. The data leaked only exposed company details, plus Level 1 took down the exposed file after it learned of the breach. Okay, so we're sticking with the security theme on this next story. Some of the top websites were recently studied to find out which ones encourage the strongest password usage. Now, you might be surprised to find out which site is doing the worst job. University professor Stephen Furnell has been studying website password practices for over a decade. Unfortunately, not much has changed over the years. He recently said it's disappointing to find out that the overall story in 2018 remains largely similar to that of 2007. Wow. In his latest survey, Google, Microsoft, and Yahoo had the best password practices, and surprisingly, on the other end of the spectrum was Amazon. The online retail giant was the biggest failure, according to the study. Amazon accepted nearly every password that Fernell attempted to use on the site, including the password password. Netflix and Reddit also accepted the word password. Another problem found with certain sites' security requirements is they seem to have no rhyme or reason for why things are done. Many sites will reject a password that you create without telling you why it was rejected and not giving detailed, helpful suggestions. Also, the good news is that more sites are allowing you to take advantage of two-factor authentication. These days, two-factor authentication is a great way to strengthen your security, and you should implement it whenever possible. You might not be shocked at this next story at all. Hackers are in fact targeting U.S. midterm elections. A Microsoft executive said during a recent security conference panel that at least 3 congressional candidates have been targeted by hackers. He told the audience that the candidates appear to have been targeted by phishing attacks to undermine the democratic process. Fake Microsoft web domains associated with espionage in 2016 were recently discovered by the tech giant. The hacking group exploiting the domains is known as Fancy Bear. It has ties to a Russian military intelligence agency, and it appears the attackers were trying to get the candidates to visit the malicious sites so they could gain access to their personal messages and emails. Anything sensitive found in an email could be used against a candidate to disrupt the election. The U.S. Director of National Intelligence said last week that Russian attempts at hacking U.S. targets remains persistent regardless of whether it's election time or not. And the good news is Microsoft said the hackers were unsuccessful in this attack before it took down the malicious sites, but who knows how many others have gone unnoticed at this point. So do you use Apple or an Android device? Most people are on one or the other, and 3/4 of the world use Android. Well, now the successor to Android, which is a Google product, could be on its way. For more than 2 years, engineers within Google have been working on Project Fuchsia, which is software that they hope will replace Android. Fuchsia is being built from scratch and being designed to better handle voice interactions, take more security updates, and to look the same across a wide range of devices. One of the debates raging inside the project is whether to build this new software for phones first or to just go ahead and use it for everything else from voice-controlled speakers to other home devices first. Google is also debating how much should change in this new system since a lot of systems depend on Android or Chrome, also Google products. If Fuchsia moves too far away from those systems, there's a lot of devices that might be incompatible. Either way, there's a lot of change coming to Google systems when its coming is so far up in the air. Fake news is a phrase that's been kicked around a lot lately, so now one app is trying to keep it from spreading. WhatsApp is going to start limiting people's ability to forward messages to large groups. So in theory, it would make it harder for news to go viral with just a click or two. In most of the world, you'll only be able to send to 20 people at a time, and the limit had been 250 people before. That's a lot of messages to go out at once, especially when the message is not true. The limit will be even smaller in India, which the WhatsApp people say is the biggest nation for message, photo, and video forwards. Unfortunately, fake news in India has led to violence and some deaths. They'll now be limited to 5 shares at once. And by the way, WhatsApp is owned by Facebook, which has been accused of spreading fake news in and of itself. Finally, for today's Commando Kicker, the Catholic Diocese of Las Cruces continues to investigate the Virgin Mary sculpture in a church in Hobbs, New Mexico, that appears to be weeping. The sculpture in Our Lady of Guadalupe Catholic Church has been attracting attention worldwide since visitors first reported the fluid in May. Bishop Oscar Cantu of the diocese said a sample of the fluid collected from the sculpture turned out to be olive oil. It's being called a church miracle, but an investigation is underway to determine whether there was a natural cause behind the liquid found on the hollow bronze sculpture. For more fun and interesting facts, go to Commando.com and search for the Commando Kicker. That's our tech news today, and special thanks to our partners at Udemy.